name is Grace Butler.
Hi, I'm Katie Duggan.
And this is the Are You Well podcast. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Grace. This is social distancing at its best.
Yeah. So this week, me and Katie, so it was a big thing for me and Katie to start the podcast, and it is something that we had been planning for a while, but we ramped up the timeline by about 2 months because, well, we've got nothing else we can do, so we were like, no time like the present. So that was why we started the podcast last week, but this week we are doing it separately. So Katie's in her house and I am in my house, and we're trying it on Zoom because we do want to keep the momentum going with it. But obviously we can't be in each other's presence or in anyone's presence really. So we said we would do it remotely. So how are you feeling this week, Katie?
I'm feeling very positive. Very positive. I've come full circle. I was anticipating this lockdown, so for the last 2 weeks I've been like, oh my god, what if we go into lockdown, what will I do, what will happen? And you know, you're building yourself up, and I was thinking of all, I won't be able to go outside for a walk, I won't be able to do this, but now that it's here, I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
I'm really accepting the whole situation and it feels normal now.
Yeah, that's a fairly good analogy for life, I think, in general, is we anticipate so much that nearly a lot of our suffering is in the anticipation of what might happen, and then when the thing actually happens, we're like, oh.
I was wrecked the last 2 weeks from like, what's going to happen, and you know, like actually nearly living it out in my mind. I was like, absolutely. Oh no. I was prepping like the back garden for a walk pathway, and I was like,
it's funny, isn't it? That like when it actually happens, you're kind of like, all right, okay, well, I can actually.
Well, anxiety is for having fear about the future, and depression is thinking about the past.
Yeah.
So I was bringing all of this on myself, and I couldn't. No Reiki, no amount of meditation, no amount of yoga, no amount of walking was stopping this. But it was the fear of the unknown, and I think it's the collective. We're all it's the one time I think in my whole lifetime that the whole world is going through the same thing.
Katie, I think this is this realization came to me there yesterday. Sorry, of course, numbnuts here forgot to put her phone on silent. This realization came to me yesterday, but if you look back in previous generations, there has just been this monumental event that has changed the course of everything. So if you go back to like wartime, that was World War I and World War II, and that took society and took the systems that were in place already up to that point, took them and gave them a big old shake, and then planted them back down. Do you know what I mean? And it's funny, I was listening to a podcast, I can't remember what podcast it was now because I've listened to so many of them, but actually it was Elizabeth Gilbert, the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She wrote another book about women in New York back in the 1940s, because it was the first time in written history that we knew of in depth where women took over, because all the men were off fighting the war, so it was women who kept countries running, and it was women who were, and it was just a completely different shift in everybody's way of thinking, because everyone was focused on this one thing, which was war. And I think that this is one of our moments. Obviously this is completely different to war. It's scarier in some ways and it's less scary in other ways, and we're very fortunate that that we can pretty much just hole up in our houses and we're safe. But I think this is one of those massive things where it's just taken everything that we know and everything that we're used to, and it's kind of gone shake shake shake.
Yeah, but I think I don't know what I seen it on Facebook or Instagram the other day, and it said this is Mother Nature or the world putting you into your room and letting you think about everything that you've done. Yeah, and I was like, that is absolutely brilliant. We're too fast paced. we're too greedy, we litter too much, we consume too much, and now everybody's at home, and you know, they really have to think now, what do I actually need? And it bears it back to the bone.
Oh
you
yeah,
know, what's
absolutely.
really important,
What's really essential.
people's perspectives will be changed forever.
Oh, totally.
Forever.
Like
Nothing will ever be the same again.
Oh yeah, I do think people need to take a step back and look at the impact we're having overall.
Well, that's what I think that's happened to me this week, and what's changed is because I've kind of done a mind clear, or I've decluttered my mind of things that aren't necessary, worries that I don't have to be worrying about. I'm like, no, actually, I'm okay. Like this is okay. This new norm is fine. It's going to pass. And when I get back, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But acceptance is the healer of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, there's nothing I can do about this right now, but what I can do is choose to make the most of it.
Do you ever hear the Serenity Prayer? I think I might have said this to you before, and any of my friends who are listening, they're probably laughing because I do talk about this quite a bit. But the Serenity Prayer, they use it in 12-step programs for addicts, and the prayer is, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that is what I live my life by, and that is how I solve every single problem I come up against. Can I change it? Yes or no. If I can't change it, then I just have to accept that as the reality and adapt and then work with it. If I can change it, change it. What's stopping you? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't like something, change it. One thing that not boils my blood in a sense that the concept of this boils my blood is, you know, when somebody comes up against a problem, and rather than look at how they can either work with the problem or work through the problem, they're like, oh my God, this is a problem and I can't do anything now, and this is in front of me and I can't get around it, I can't get over it, I can't get past it. Yes, you can. You can do something about it. There's always something. So you either need to really accept the problem and accept it as reality, and then look at the best course of action forward after that. And it helps, like the Serenity Prayer, I find helps me when I'm anxious, it helps me when I'm sad, it helps me when I'm dissatisfied with my life, it helps me in pretty much all situations, big, small, whatever. You can apply that principle to anything. It's like, okay, you have a problem, how do you go forward? Can you change it? Yes or no? If you can change it, how do you change it? And if you can't change it, how do you just get on with it?
I think if you have something like that, you know, like a fallback thing that you stick by, like I said, if you have rituals.
Yes, rituals.
Something that you live by, whether it's a Serenity Prayer, a Reiki prayer, and even just a normal prayer, but something that's yours and that you live by and that you use every day, I think is so important.
Oh yeah,
because when anything happens, you just go back to that.
Yeah, always. Yeah, and it's
just go back to that. Yeah,
it's a fail safe. And what I like, one thing I want to say about the Serenity Prayer as well is it's absolutely nothing to do with the religious aspect of it, and it's all to do with the words of the prayer. So you don't. In order to take on something like that, you don't have to be religious. You don't have to believe in the whole institution. But if you take something from the words, and they have a positive effect on it, and take them and run with them. Yeah. They don't need to be from your sacred text. They could be from anything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need
but they're so similar. Yeah, lovely.
So do I.
But there's a prayer. There's always those affirmations in anything, any sacred text you go to, like Reiki. They have the 5 principles. So just for today, I will let go of anger. Just for today, I let go of worry. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I will count my many blessings. Just for today, I will be kind to my neighbor and all living things.
Oh, I love that. I love the whole. It's really nice. I love the just for today thing as well, because I find with me, so if I get caught up in, we'll go with anxiety for the moment, but it works with pretty much anything. If I get caught up in anxiety, what happens to me is, say if I'm really busy, I'm focusing So this works for anyone who's like studying. It works for anybody who's starting a business, anybody who's under pressure from work, XYZ, whatever. I'm trying to sit down and focus on one thing, but I have so many other things going on that I can't focus on this one thing, because I'm like, oh God, I should be doing that, and I should be doing that, and I should be doing that. And then all of a sudden, guess what I get done? I get absolutely nothing done, because I've spent so much, I'm absolutely exhausted from the thought of doing it. So the thing, that whole like just for today, it's like, that's something I say to myself quite a lot, is I'm like, right, okay, just for the next couple of hours, I'm going to focus on this thing. If I don't focus on this one thing, or if I, when I'm like negotiating with myself, then going, oh, I should really be doing that, be like, no. The more you are focusing on what you should be doing, the less you are focusing on what you're actually doing. So, like, worrying about something is doing something. The thing you're doing is worrying. The same way as actually completing the task is doing something. And sometimes worrying about the task can actually be more exhausting than just getting the thing done.
Oh, mental exhaustion is because it's unmeasurable. Physical exhaustion, you can accept it because it's, I worked from 9 to 5, that's why I'm tired. But mental exhaustion, because it's non-tangible, you can't see it. It's really hard to gauge, but yet people don't understand that there is that mental exhaustion as well.
I think we need to be a little bit more I'm going to use the word economical but it's not the right word. But anyway, we need to be a little bit more economical with our mental energy. And what I mean by that is, we're all very like, oh, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. Or I don't have money, I can't go there because I don't have money. I can't do this because I don't have money. I can't do that because I don't have time. I can't do that because I don't have time. Well, I think we actually need to be like, I don't have the mental energy to be worrying about this thing, or to be ruminating over this thing. So I can't leave that in right now. So so kind of I'm not saying push all your stresses aside, but if you're really overwhelmed by a load of different things going on, you can't seem to get anything done, well, that's where you need to be like, right, okay, I'm going to focus on this one thing, and all of these other things are going out of the way. And that's where you're taking back control then of what energy you have in your brain, because otherwise you're just ruminating about all the things you haven't done, all the things you have to do.
Well, that's why I love lists. That's why I absolutely live by lists, and I have my list, and if I don't get everything done on that list, I'll do it the next day, or I'll keep it on the Monday list and I'll do it next Monday. But I'll have the high priority things, like say pay bills, or you know, do yoga or meetings or whatever. So I'll have them at the top, and then all the rest of the little things at the bottom, then if you don't get done today, not a big deal. But one book I'm reading at the moment is Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and oh my God, what a book.
Is Louise Hay, is that the woman that has like
Hay
loads
House.
of Hay House.
Yeah. But it's so simple. And it's all about your internal dialogue, what you say to yourself, your thoughts and your actions. And it is just, it's so simple. You're scratching your head going, nah, couldn't be that. But then when you when you do the exercises and you take note of your own internal dialogue, it makes so much sense why you are where you are now, and where you've come from and where you're going. And then you look at your internal dialogue, and it's like all the pieces of the jigsaws come together. Mad. And it's not that my life is broken or you have to read the book because what it says on the title. No, it's life skills in the most simplistic, easy learning way.
Why are they not teaching these things to children? This is what I want to know.
Like, I just don't understand.
How many years did I spend I'm trying to think how many years I spent in school, and I feel like, and this is not the case for everybody, I know this is not the case for everybody, but for a lot of people it is. I came out of school after spending X amount of time in there, and then I had to learn how to live. So I had
how to be a human.
Like it's like you're all throughout school, they teach you how to read, they teach you how to count, they teach you how to tell the time. Brilliant, okay? But then there's all of this stuff that you're cramming into your head. And unless you choose to do home ec in secondary school, none of the rest of it is giving you any life skills.
Oh, stop.
like none of it. Like, home ec is the only subject that I refer back to quite a bit. Like home ec is where I learned about macronutrients and micronutrients and how to stitch a hem,
how to make a stir fry,
how to make a stir fry, how to make spaghetti bolognese, how to make stones,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
some decent life skills.
So practical, but that practical and theory thing is essential. I did train the trainer last year, and I was like, finally, a learning system that I can learn. And I felt so intelligent, I will say, because it goes on your, remember I was saying to you, you're a theorist, you know, you have this attic of knowledge, and you just pluck it down and then provide it, you know, that you learn a certain way and you deliver information a certain way, whereas I'd be a different type of emotional intelligence. So everybody has an emotional intelligence, and they learn, they excel in a certain way, and then they don't in another way. So if I started showing you something, or no, if you started telling me all of this theory, I'd be like, okay, right, just get to the point. Whereas if I told you loads and loads and loads of information, you're like, yeah, give me more. Whereas I'm straight to the point, and you're
I like to go into things.
You like quantity.
You
like quantity, whereas I'm just like, no, just tell me the end point.
Tell me the end
you
of
know,
the story. It's so funny.
Tell me the end.
It's like, you know, when people say to you, like, do you want, for me anyway, it's like, do you want the short story or the long story? And I'm like, I want the short story, and then I want the long story.
I'm like, no, just tell me the end of the short story, please.
No, I'm the opposite then. I like to know the conclusion, and then I like to know how we got to the conclusion and all the little steps in between.
And it's so funny, when we were surfing, there was different teachers, and they obviously taught different ways. So I'd have a great surf lesson, say on day 1, day 2 I wouldn't catch any waves, day 3 I'd catch a few. I'd go back to the fella that I had on the first day, catch all the waves, because the guy on the first day threw out everything on the sand and said, this is how you're going to do it. And then we'd go out and do it, and he'd tell you as you're out there how to do it. The next guy then would say, catch every wave, and you'd go out, and I'd literally spend the whole time underneath the water. And I'm like, just tell me what to do, show me, tell me and show me. Whereas Brian could just go out and surf. How do you do it, like, you know? But it's just the way different people learn.
Oh, absolutely. I think, was it you I was saying too about my my chemistry teacher in school, that she basically said to us, so when I went into 5th year, this was the first time I had her, and one of the first things she said to us, she was like, girls, ask as many questions as you want, because my job is to stand up here and say the same thing over and over again in as many different ways as possible until you understand it. And I just thought that was brilliant, because, you know, we have it in our heads, like, I'm bad at this, I'm good at that, I'm bad at maths, I'm bad at science, I'm good at this thing, I'm good at that thing, I'm good at my hands, I'm not good with my hands. I don't think any of us, I do think some people have like a preference, and some people do have a natural talent. But I also don't think that there's anybody that can't do these things. I just think that it hasn't been explained to them in a way that they understand.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it's really important.
Capable of amazing things. It's just we haven't been shown in a way that we can understand.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes, I know with teachers I've had, or with like even people who used to teach me on like coaches when I was competing with the horses, some people can get very frustrated at you when you don't understand something. And again, back to the Miss Power, my chemistry teacher, she always said that if we didn't understand something, that was her fault and not ours.
Yeah, that's what the guy Michael Cox, the trainer, he said, there's good teachers or trainers, and there's excellent trainers. And it's the good teachers, trainers that come in and just, you know, do you understand? But it's the excellent trainers that, you know, go that extra step to make sure that they take responsibility for you not understanding. But even
that's also a very good reflection. Now this is all me looking back at the experience that I've had with various different types of people who've been teaching me various different things over the years. But I think that's a great example of being in like a fixed kind of a blaming mindset, because the person who is teaching is blaming the person who is trying to learn for not understanding them, whereas if they were to turn around and look back at themselves as if they are this person, how would they say it so that this person understands? So some people are so focused on teaching what they have in their heads that they're not really thinking about the person that they're teaching it to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like this whole thing of meeting people where they're at. So in order for me to teach something to somebody, I have to say it in a language that they understand, and I have to use words that they'll understand. And
Yeah.
this is why I love analogies as well. I love using an analogy to explain something to someone by comparing to something that they are familiar with.
Oh yeah, that's a great way. Yeah.
Yeah, I just find I just find that in teaching something you have to be very compassionate in order to do well and to be liked and to be effective. I don't think beating some information into people will work.
When I look back at school, I was like, that's a part of my life that I never want to relive again.
Oh,
I felt
never
hated and so thick because teachers were like, what is wrong with you? Like, you know,
worthless.
why can't you
Worthless
understand?
is what I felt when I was in school.
Well, it's not my fault. Like, I'm only a child, a teenager. Like, you're an adult, you know.
Yeah, but I even look back to look, I will hold up my hands and I will still say now I am one of the most hyperactive people I know. Do you know what I mean? And that can't have been easy for any teacher to have, like, do you know what I mean? Because I was always very bubbly and chatty and just not much different than the way I am now, to be fair. But I think back on that and I remember that the things the teachers used to say to me as young as 10 or 11, just for being so chatty, and I'm sure it wrecked their heads. But just thinking back on the things that they used to say to me, and at the time I didn't think a whole lot of it, but now looking back, I'm like, a grown adult said that to a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And do you know what I mean? And it kind of, I hated school anyway, not primary school so much as secondary school. But one thing, because I wasn't set up mentally to sit in a classroom from one end of the day to the other and learn things like a good little girl, I was always very like, but why do I need to learn this? But why is this important to me?
But
why
nobody is set up to sit in school. Nobody is, because what they're doing is they're suppressing our creativity, our individuality. They're trying to squeeze us into a box, and anything that doesn't fit into it, then it's like, oh, well, you're different, you're bold, you're this, you're that.
Yeah, lost cause. Like, they just get, the minute anything is different, I know for me, again, back in school, I always felt like teachers just, they didn't care if I did well or I didn't do well. No, don't get me wrong, I never had any all-out wars with teachers or anything. I kind of just took a step back. But I never, at no point in school, bar a handful of times, was I ever made to feel like I could amount to anything if I didn't go to college or if I didn't do well academically, which I didn't do well academically. And I tried college, how many times have I tried college? 3 times, 4 times, and I've dropped out every time.
Oh, I didn't even attempt it.
Like, I don't know why.
I knew it wasn't for me.
I so desperately wanted college to be for me because I so desperately wanted to amount to something, and I thought that college was the only way to do that. It wasn't until the end of 2018, start of last year, where I kind of went, I don't need college to do the things that I want to do, or I don't need college
it's
to
only
be
one
happy.
avenue.
Oh, it is one road. It is.
But we're just not shown any other way.
No.
It's because that's just textbook stuff. Oh, you do this and you
just
do that.
Funnel into further education. Funnel into further
but
education.
I have to say, like, teachers must have some, like, I just don't know how they do it. The patience that they have. Like, fair play to them, because I probably would have murdered me in school. You know?
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely.
Not that I was bold. Not that I was bold, but I just couldn't pay attention because this interests me so much. Maths and spelling and all that thing, I just wasn't for me.
I do think
and I see that myself. Though, when people have no interest in yoga, you just have to let it go, because
Mhm.
there's no point in trying to pull them in. It's like, sure, they'll just leave if they're not interested, and they'll try another class or they'll go somewhere else. But I
Yeah.
suppose you can't do that in primary or secondary school.
No, and that's
They're
the thing, is because
there
you're
for the next 9
shaping
months.
people. Well, you're shaping people for the rest of their lives. And I know it took me, I would say, the bones of 5 years, if not a little bit longer, to really come to grips with everything that I had taken from school, which the vast majority was not positive. So it took me 5 or 6 years to kind of get to grips with all of that. So that was 5 to 6 years of my life after school, where I was learning how to live with all of the things I had seen, heard, and whatever in school. Do you know what I mean? It took me that long to kind of get to grips with
process
everything.
it all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I kind of just floated through life in a daze after that for a while. And don't get me wrong, I have like any of my friends who are teachers, I have the utmost admiration for them, because I do. And I notice with any teachers that I've come in contact with now, the attitude seems to be a lot different than some of the negative experiences I had in school. But that being said as well, I had some brilliant teachers in school.
I had some lovely teachers as well.
Yeah.
Teachers that actually wanted to teach.
Yeah.
And it's like any job. You'll be
Mhm.
really good at your job if you actually want to do it. But of course, there are some people in jobs that just don't like to be there because they think that they should be doing that job, and then it's just like,
well, no, like as I said, I did have some fantastic teachers in school, and I think back, and it was in secondary school, it was a handy 5 of them that kept me going the whole time I was there. You know what I mean? It kept me.
Like, finally, somebody understands me.
Yeah, I was one teacher in particular who kept me in school. And funnily enough, she was one of my mom's favorite teachers as well, and was so mad about my mom when mom was in school. And so, for that being said, for every negative experience I've had with a teacher, I've had a positive one as well. But I think the negative ones just kind of stick with you a little bit more, because they're the harder ones to process, and they're harder ones to kind of suss out and figure it out.
Yeah, they're the ones that shape you, because you'll meet a boss, or you'll meet an employer, or you'll meet a person like that throughout your life, because they just keep coming up. They keep coming up to challenge you and shape you. Like, are you going back there again?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you just learn the people that you can work with, that you can't, that can help you excel, and that just bring you down. And that's just,
isn't it the best feeling in the world to know when you've been through something? So whether it's with a significant So when you've been through something, whether it be with a significant other, or a parent, or a sibling, or a friend, or whatever, and you manage to get out of whatever that toxic thing is, and then you recognize it much earlier, further down the road, and you're like, oh, spidey senses, I'm not staying.
And then you can choose. You can choose whether, am I going to go into this, or am I not? Like, I might be different this time, I'll step in. And then you find the exit.
It's a really good feeling when you spot something like much earlier, and you're like, yes, go me. Like, that is, you'd be just cheering yourself on, and you're like, yeah, go me.
Absolutely, yeah. But that all comes back down to energy.
Oh yeah.
So trusting your gut feeling, and oh my God, how many times have I denied it? And like, I should have just listened to myself.
Hazy, oh my God, yes.
As well. This goes back to school, or parents, or whatever, and when we know something is wrong, they're like, no, everything is fine, everything is fine. And then it's like, no, it's not. Everything is not fine.
Okay,
and then
go on. No, sorry, go on.
And that shuts it down, and then we have to rebuild that connection with our gut and our instinct, because it's all suppressed. So it's about, when it comes up, when you get used to that feeling, it's like, no, this is telling me now, this is not
telling me something.
It's not, and this is an innate thing that we have within us since the start of time, since caveman times. Since forever, but we just don't. We rely on other people, things to let us know what's right or wrong.
I like to call that I like to call it, yeah, it's definitely intuition, but I also like to call that my spidey senses.
Spidey.
Yeah. Spidey senses
And
is the
you know
word.
what?
What?
Can I just say
Go on.
the spider is one of the power elements for the solar plexus. So
Oh, no way! That's so
yeah.
funny.
So
That is bananas.
that's really relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's so funny. That is a perfect little segue into another thing I wanted to talk about, which is feeling stuck, which I have been feeling stuck. But just to go back to initiative there or in intuition for a second, I all throughout school, primary school, secondary school, my many failed attempts at college, the various different jobs I have worked in, I have always felt like none of that was set up for me, or that I wasn't set up for any of that. I suppose that I needed to, I always had this feeling inside that I needed to go and do my own thing, whatever my own thing was. Didn't have a clue what it was, still kind of only half know, but that the conventional means of success, inverted commas, progress, all of that, like, you know, primary school, secondary school, college, fall in love, get married, have babies, you know, those little frameworks, that with those subconscious frameworks
Yeah.
that we have for ourselves, I always knew that none of them were the right fit for me. But because I never knew what the right fit was, I just kept trying to batter myself into those boxes. And sure, it all came crashing down eventually. Like, there was a little micro explosion in my brain when I just couldn't. I had put myself into all of these boxes and I hadn't listened to myself while I was doing all of that.
Yeah.
And then it's like it all exploded, and then I realized if I had just listened to myself at any point throughout all of this, maybe, just maybe, I would have come out of this a little bit less scarred.
Scarred.
The only thing I suppose then is I won't learn from anyone else's mistakes. I have to learn from my own mistakes, and I'm not one of those people who like, I don't learn from my own mistakes after one time making them.
Oh no, you have to do it several times.
Oh Jesus,
More
9,
than
10,
the fingers
15
can
times.
count. But you
And
know,
then
I
eventually
used to say that to myself. Oh, if I had done this sooner, I would have been here, or this,
Yeah.
that, and the other thing. But all of these things, like I said, have shaped you. So
Yeah.
all of those previous jobs, like I always knew I always wanted to work for myself, but I
Mhm.
never had. Oh, sure, I was just making
Same.
excuses. I don't
Yeah.
have the finances, I don't have the premises, I don't have X, Y, and Z.
I can't
But
do it because
all
of
of
this.
these, yeah, but all of the
Mhm.
previous jobs that I have done have set me up for running my own business.
Yes, absolutely.
And now when I look back, it's like, oh, sure, I was doing that in that job, or I did that
Mhm.
before, or I worked with
Mhm.
people like that, and I'm like, okay, this is why I had to do all of those other things
Oh, 100%.
to make this easier. So it's like, if
Mhm.
you're struggling with something, or if you have to be in something that you don't want to be because you've no other option, make the most of it, because you
Yeah.
don't know when you're going to use those skills, tools, or techniques in the future.
Yeah.
So you're putting in the graft now to make your future life a little bit more cushier.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, do you know what you were saying earlier on? I love information. I love information. I love consuming information. I love learning. I love reading up about things. I love watching videos about things and listening to podcasts about things. And I just love soaking up all of the information I can. So I find that one really helpful thing for me as well, when looking at circumstances that I have no control over, or looking at when something happens that's just less than ideal, I'm like, right, what can I learn from this? Can I learn something in business? Can I learn something about myself? Can I learn how better to communicate? What can I learn from this? Surely, and I think that in every situation that you come up against, there are things that you can learn. Always, there's always something you can learn. Every day is a school day, and anybody who thinks that they are done learning is just pure foolish, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Because we
always
are
a
never.
student.
Always,
Yeah.
and it's when you're kind of, so sometimes if you're in not the best mindset and things start to happen, so say for example with the coronavirus kind of average series of events for everyone is like a lot of people are losing their jobs, a lot of people are their income is down. So my income is down, and then I get an email this morning about like a direct debit that's after bouncing. Do you know what I mean? And there's all of these, and then we're on lockdown, and there's all of these little things going on around me, and I could very easily sit here and go and just get buried under it. I could very easily leave all of these circumstances come in on top of me, and then I get buried, and I'm just overwhelmed and whatever. Whereas if you look at those things and see, okay, what can I do? What can I learn from this? So lockdown, what can I learn from lockdown? I can learn to sit with myself, okay? I can learn to be left alone with my thoughts. That's what I can do. And sometimes that's really scary, and sometimes that's really
that is one of the hardest things to do for anybody.
Oh my God, just to not give in to the agitation. Do you know what I mean? I think I've said this to you before. I get wicked agitated, and I'm like, oh, I need to go do something. I need to listen to this. I need to make another coffee. I need to go eat something. I need to do this, do that.
Yeah,
do
you can't sit with yourself.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I was listening to a podcast last night. The girl's name is Kleena. I will link it in the notes because it is actually a nice little, it's like 6 minutes long or something. But she says in the podcast, we are human beings, not human doings.
I always say that in my classes. I always say that.
I loved it. I just thought it was brilliant because here's me trying to do.
Yeah.
Even though I end up doing nothing because I'm just sitting in the house being like, I'm going to like make myself a sandwich, and I'm going to sweep the floor, and I'm going to feed the dog, and I'm going to do this. But I'm not, in reality, I'm not doing anything other than filling up my time. Whereas
we measure our worthiness from our busyness.
Yeah, totally.
The busier you are, the more worthy you're perceived to be.
But the busyness is not helping yet. So I can see that myself. Do you know what I mean? I can. This morning now, I got up and did my few little bits. Then I sat down at my desk and I was just thinking. I spent a good 2 hours sitting here just pondering on how I'm feeling. Why am I feeling this way? I'm really struggling at the moment to make myself do anything. And I was like, well, why? And what I mean by that is do anything that actually is of benefit to me. I have no problem doing things that are of no benefit to me whatsoever, such as eating. Coffee. God, literally coffee. I'm drinking coffee at a ridiculous rate, and I'm going nowhere. But this morning I just sat down and I was like, just pondering on different things, and kind of realized that I was trying to make myself do things that I didn't really want to do. And I wasn't doing the things that I did want to do. I was kind of fobbing those up because in my head I was like, well, coronavirus, I can't do anything, so there's no point in doing any of that. But in reality, I could do a lot of those things. I just can't do them in the way that I thought I could do them. I have to do them in a different way now. So, but it's so funny because 2 hours of just sitting down with no music in my ears and just with no other objective, only to think. And kind of, and not in such a way that, like, I find when I sit alone with myself sometimes, if it's by surprise, I'm kind of, there's a lot of things going on in my head now, and what is happening here? Whereas this morning I kind of sat down and I was like, right, okay, we're not going to freak out about anything. I'm just going to think. What is going around in my head at the moment? What am I not happy with? And what can I actually fix? And then it's a case of being honest with myself and going, how am I holding myself back? How am I not allowing myself to do the things that I want to do? How am I railroading myself into doing things that are actually of no benefit to me whatsoever? And how am I lying to myself? Because that's a thing. I think we all hold ourselves back with our own lies, and we don't even realize half the time that we're filling our own minds up with shite.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's one way in with the slurry tank and one way out. But that's what we do all the time. I think I've been preparing myself for lockdown over the last 2 years because
that's such an Irish comparison. Slurry tank. Did you know Katie's from the country?
Glenmore.
Oh, that's strange.
Oh god. But the Christmas gone, but the Christmas beforehand, I did a 5-day silent retreat. So 5-day, yeah, I
I've been
know.
struggling my life. Could you imagine me?
No, you would not go there. You would not go there. But I was
What?
saying, how is this going to play out? Like, so when I was walking today around the block, it reminds me of that so much, because one of the guidelines was, you know, don't make eye contact with people. So there was 23 of us in this retreat center. So she said, don't make eye contact, because, you know, you might look at that person and look away, and then suddenly that person thinks, oh, she doesn't like me, or she's judging me, or. So she said, just look down at the floor and just walk past each other. So this went on for 5 days, and you don't speak, but there's daily meditations, and you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or whatever, but you're not allowed to speak. And at the meditations, you know, she might say at the end of it, you know, how is everybody getting on? So you put up your hand and you could speak for a minute or two, just say or whatever. And then you'd have like 1 or 2 sessions with her where you'd have a 15-minute chat, and she'd really get into like, how are you getting on, and what are you struggling with? So what I found with that is exactly what I'm going through right now. So that kind of roller coaster, that really high, then really low, and then that tsunami of like all of your thought processes from the past and everything from the future, and all of this washing machine stuff, and then it actually gets really calm. So these cycles are really normal, and it's just what's happening. But she said to me, she goes, I've been watching you. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, you just can't relax. And I was like, I can relax. I'm a yoga teacher. Like, I just like, no, but you have to, like, you're going for a walk because not just
not to get a sweat on. Like.
Yeah. So she's like, just go for a walk to do nothing. I was like, but I want to get my steps, and I want to, you know, move a little bit. And I noticed that then I said, right, I won't do anything. I'll just go to my room. And I had the most restful nap. So much so that my body felt like lead. He said, and I couldn't. It wasn't like sleep apnea. It's like my body does not want me to get up. It wants me to stay here. It said, I have you now. Just rest. So when I had the next session with her, I explained, because that's the adrenaline actually all settling and being processed, and your body really, really enjoying that time of nothingness. And nothingness that's where the magic happens, in that nothingness, and that's where you restore all your resources and off you go again. But we just don't do it often enough.
No, really definitely don't. Not. And I think then, because we don't do it often enough, that's why it's so traumatic when we do it, because it's this onslaught. It's like anything. So I'm going to use an analogy of doing your washing. Okay, so if you don't do your washing, it builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and then all of a sudden you have a mammoth task in front of you with like 7 loads of washing to do, and then all the ironing that goes with that.
Ironing? Who does ironing?
I don't. Funnily enough, I don't. If something in my house needs ironing, it goes to the charity shop.
I don't buy anything that needs ironing.
No, I feel like ironing is just like, what? But say like you have to do your washing, and then you have to put it up and dry it, and then you have to fold it and put it away, and that turns into this massive task. The same thing happens with your emotions. Keep brushing them under the carpet, or whatever your thoughts, whatever. Keep brushing them under the carpet. Keep putting them into a corner. They will eventually explode. And then when you sit in your own, that's why you're so agitated and you physically can't sit still, because all of this has built up and it needs to be dealt with. But then because there's so much agitation, upset, anger, whatever comes up with that, it's like, I'm never doing it. You'd be traumatized by it. I'm not doing that again. I'm not being alone with my thoughts again. But the thing about it is every time you sit with yourself, and you sit, whether just every time you are just being, just nothing else, only being, it gets easier and easier and easier. And then all of a sudden the thoughts are coming and going, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And everything is actually easy breezy then. It's not that you're making it easy breezy.
But that's why it's called a mindfulness practice. You have to practice it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now we have this time to practice it. This is a major time for healing, for processing, for reevaluating, for making changes. You're given the time that you've asked for so long. You're given the break that you've asked for so long. take it with both
Yeah.
hands and make the most
Mhm.
of it. And that's, I literally caught myself by the two shoulders the other day, and I was like, stop this now.
Yeah.
Because I was actually forcing myself to smile because the corners of my mouth were drooping down sideways,
Mhm.
and I was feeling really sorry for myself. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
Katie, everybody's going through this. You're
Yeah.
not the only one. Turn this around. And that's literally, I started just smiling, you know, like
Yeah.
that psycho smile. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
you're
I
getting
could
twitching.
feel the sides of my mouth, yeah, twitching, because
Yeah.
they've been going down the way for the last week. So I was
Yeah.
putting it back up, and I was like, you have nothing to be sad about.
Mhm.
But I allowed myself to be sad for the week and a half or the 2 weeks, and then it's okay, that's enough sadness now. That's
Yeah.
enough pity potty stuff. Off you go now. Get up, wipe your arse, and move on.
But here's
And
the
yesterday and today, I've been buzzing.
but the thing about it is that like if you want to go out and find something to be sad about, you can do that. That is absolutely possible. Okay, you have no issues. Go out the door there, and I guarantee you 10 minutes. If you're looking for something to be sad about, if you're looking for something to be angry about, if you're looking for something to be pissed off about, you'll find it. The same way as if you were going out looking for something to be happy about, looking for something to
Yeah.
smile at,
Oh, there are
looking for
equal
something
amounts of
to
it everywhere.
oh, you get what you seek.
Yeah.
You really do get what you seek. So
But it was
like,
mad. It was like literally just taking myself, turning myself around, and it's like that, looking from the negativity. I don't think it was even negative. It was just, I felt like I was in limbo. That's what I
it's
said to
just
Mum
like
the other day. I was like, Mum, everything is up in the air, and I don't like it. I really
yeah.
don't like it.
Well, it's the loss of control. So you're kind of like,
yeah. Well, I was like, well, this is not in my yearly plan or my monthly plan or my weekly plan. So, you know, I'm pretty pissed off over it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but you're entitled to be pissed off. So I was justifying why I was that way. But then I said, okay, how much longer now am I going to allow this to go on for?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, now today's the deadline. This is going to stop today. So if you are feeling pissed off, angry, frustrated, feel that way. But decide on how long you're going to feel like that. How long are you going to mull over that?
Yeah.
Okay, something got cancelled, your wedding, your party, your whatever, you know, that got cancelled. Okay, be pissed off over it, be sad over it, but put a deadline on it.
Oh, 100%. I actually love that because I said earlier on I was going to come back to this and then I forgot. But just talking about being stuck. So as I said, I felt quite stuck the last few weeks or the last few days in that I just don't know what I want to do with anything ever. Do you know, it's like I'm kind of like, oh, I can't really make any decisions, or well, this was what I was telling myself. But then I gave myself until yesterday evening and I was like, okay, right, child, you can have until Sunday evening to be a lazy sloth and not make any decisions whatsoever about anything. Like I wasn't making decisions about what I was eating because I was just thinking of like in my own head, I'm kind of hungry. And then my mother was really like, there's such and such down here if you want something. And there's me then skipping off down the garden.
Oh, not like the mother's cooking.
Oh, stop it. There was roast chicken dinner there last night now, and it was 15 out of 10, and I would 80% of the time be a vegetarian, but that is slipping by the wayside with Mommy's cooking at the moment. And Mother is on one with the bacon as well. Baked a couple of loaves of bread yesterday. They were divine. But I gave myself until yesterday evening. I was like, do you know what? Now that's the end of that. They say it's the end of this feeling stuck and being like, oh, like, I'm not doing anything. I'm so lazy. And it's not so much about like that I wasn't doing anything. It was the act of being mean to myself for not doing anything, because I wasn't making a conscious decision to do nothing. It just so happened that was the way it was going. I was just like lounging around going, I might do that in a few minutes, or I might do that in a few minutes, or I might do that in a few minutes. And for me, a lot of it comes back to being able to make a decision. So I get stuck when I stop making decisions. So it's not that I actively decided I'm going to have a lazy day. It's I subconsciously didn't decide to do anything. So therefore I did nothing. And excuse me. So even this morning I got up and I made the decision to get dressed straight away the minute my feet touched the floor. got dressed, and then I sat straight down at the computer, and then I made the decision to at least plan my day. And sometimes when I feel stuck, I end up not doing anything, so then I get overwhelmed. So like this morning I sat down and I made a list of all of the things that I didn't even go by the wayside, and then I went through that list and I was like, I'm actually going to leave some of these go by the wayside. So I crossed some of the things off the list. Some of the things have been hanging over my head that I was like, I haven't been doing this, I haven't been doing this, I haven't been doing this. And this morning I was like, do you know why I haven't been doing that? Because I don't want to. So then I just crossed it off the list. I'm like, I don't need to do it. I just had it in my head that I was going to do it, and now it's gone. And all after the couple of hours this morning, I already feel so much better in that I haven't actually I just crossed the things off the list that were hanging over my head that I had no intention of actually doing, that I was only doing because I thought I should.
But you feel great now because that weight has been lifted.
Oh yeah, totally.
That mental weight. Yeah. Well, you did do something. You did. You decided to let it go, and that's an action.
But that's the thing is, I find when I get stuck, it's because I won't make any decisions. And this morning I made a few decisions, and now I'm like, okay, it's Monday. I can actually get into this week rhythm. So I already feel better about this week, having done very little, only make decisions.
But you made a plan though, and you made, so I think, oh my God, I love plans and I love lists. And even say yesterday, I planned to do absolutely nothing.
And I'd say enjoyed every minute.
And I became the couch yesterday.
Yeah.
There was no separation between me and the couch except for toilet breaks and tea breaks. And besides that, there was nothing else done. But
I was only the best day ever.
Best day ever. So today then, I found it a little bit difficult to get back into things. But then once I was like, okay, you had your rest day yesterday. Now get up. And then I start doing things. I got loads done, all of my to-do list. And I said, right, that's good.
One thing I like about, and this only happened by accident, as in like last week we recorded the podcast on a Monday and today we're recording it on a Monday, is that if I wake up with Monday-itis, I still have the podcast with nothing else.
Yeah.
Like at least this morning it's hard to kind of slip into lazy sloth mode when I'm like, oh yeah, we're recording the podcast later. Okay, fun. And
I have a good purpose to the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that I've been doing to myself an awful lot is planning out the things I should do, but not actually including things I will look forward to in that. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's very important, if you're feeling stuck or you're feeling unmotivated, to put in things that you love doing as well. And I don't mean the things that you want to love doing. Okay, so like I know you want to love doing a hit session at home, but nobody loves that.
Oh, I did one today, and I just wanted to get. I was like, why am I doing this to myself? And then afterwards, when I finished, I was like, yes, I did that. Now I can go downstairs and eat.
Yeah, exactly. You do. You always feel good after things like that. But I suppose for me, the stage I'm at, if I was to put on my calendar now tonight that I'm going to do a hit session first thing in the morning, there'd be no getting great up out of bed until 9 o'clock tomorrow night. I would surface for half an hour and I'm like, okay, go back to bed. No hit session for me.
No, but you do everything to avoid those things you don't like on the list. So that's a brilliant idea to do. But like that's about enjoying life.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because some people literally
love hardship.
Hardship. Absolute hardship.
Yeah.
So if you don't, it's like when you're in school and that you do they say do the hard things first. I think that's a great idea.
Oh, you're right.
Get them out of the way, but then reward yourself with the things you do. And if you're having a shitty day, flip it.
Yeah, totally.
So do the things that you love doing, and then you can go do the other things.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you need to do. There's two different sides to that. So I find when I'm in a state of being productive, and that's such a buzzword, isn't it? Productive, as in like.
I have a love-hate relationship with the word productive.
Same. Because sometimes I think, oh yeah, productive, and then other times it's like I should be being productive, and then it's like a weight that you put on yourself. But I think I forget what I was saying now.
We were flipping the doing the things that you
Oh,
love
yeah.
on the
So,
days that you're
yeah,
not feeling the love.
there's two sides. Yeah, so there's two sides to it. So when you're feeling very productive, I think you can wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm going to get all the shit stuff out of the way now, and then I'm going to do all the things I like to do in the
Yeah.
afternoon, and that can work great. But then sometimes you're in the stage like me where you're like, I'm going to get up and do all of the shit things. Oh, I'm going to make coffee. Oh, food. Oh, I have to feed the dogs. Oh, I have to go down and walk the dogs. I have to do anything but the hard stuff. So sometimes you just need to like make yourself a nice easy day. Do really easy things that are one step tick, one step tick, because sometimes you have to get back into the habit of getting stuff done.
Yeah, and it's the same with the exercise or the HIIT. It takes a while. So why not build yourself up to those things and do them? Sometimes you're never going to be ready. Sometimes you just have to take the plunge and just do it, and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, and I think
just have to listen to how you feel and say, okay, what am I capable of doing?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of like, look at where you're at. So do you want to do something? So do you want to do something because you want to do it, or because you feel like you should do it? And or because you feel like you should do it, or are you being mean to yourself because you're not doing it? And I find that me being mean to myself is not a motivator for me to do anything. It is a motivator for me to stick my head in the sand like an ostrich and be like, stop the world, I want to get off. And so then and like I end up being really mean to myself. Like the last few days when like you're doing nothing, you're so lazy, you're going to get fat, and you're doing this, and you're just not going to do anything. You're just going to slip into like a little holy moly and stay there for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? I'm being so mean to myself. Whereas it's kind of like, no, the whole world is on pause at the moment, so I'm on pause, and that's okay. It's okay to be on pause, and I'm getting restless in pause now. So it's like, right, how do I nicely bring myself back out of it, rather than just being mean to myself and beating myself further
that's
back
exactly
into a box.
Where I was all last week as well, and there was nothing I could do for myself to pull myself out. It did its time, it passed, and now I'm over the other side of it. I'm like, I don't do this. I accept this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think acceptance is
very important.
Oh, so important, but you have to be ready to accept it. Now that the fog has cleared, and I suppose all of the work that I was doing, like the yoga and meditation, that has come to show itself now. Because I was consistently doing it day after day, and now it's showing itself to be worthwhile. And I always know that it is worthwhile, but at the time when you're feeling like that, you're like, nothing is working. When is this ever going to end? But if you keep some sort of routine and normality and doing the things that you know work, you might be able to see the end result, but you know that it'll come eventually. So.
Yeah, and it's just like, I think consistency with getting anything done in life, okay, whether it's whatever, big, small, important, non-important, consistency is very important, and being kind to yourself is also very important. Just
Absolutely.
Cut yourself a break. So another little exercise that I love to do when I'm being really hard on myself is, what would I say to one of the girls? So I imagine so I imagine that it's one of the girls in this situation, and what would I say to them? And 90% of the time, if one of the girls rang me and was like, I haven't done anything in a week, I haven't done any college work, I haven't done any work, I haven't done anything, all I've done is sit on the sofa and eat food, I'd be like, haha, that sounds like the best week ever. I'm like, you deserve that. Like, take a break. Absolutely. If you need a break, you need a break. And I'd be so easy on them. I'd be like, yeah, go you. That's brilliant. You know what I mean? It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have lazy weeks. And then I suppose it's reminding myself of, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. We all have lazy weeks.
Take your own advice.
Yeah, it's like I'm not like this horrible lazy slob that's never going to do anything. I'm just having a lazy few days. I'm readapting, or I am adapting to the new normal. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. This is the new norm. But have deadlines. I'm going to be a lazy slot and I'm going to really enjoy these days. That's what I did with myself.
And then it's guilt free.
But this is the thing, and
Yeah.
the same if you're going to get a takeaway. I'm going to have this today and I'm going to enjoy it. And then for the next 6 days or 7 days, I'm going to eat really healthy and go for walks and.
Yeah.
So like you're creating balance.
Yeah, and I think like it's like what you're saying there about the takeaway. Like if I have a Chinese in front of me, you're damn well sure I'm going to sit there and I'm going to enjoy that Chinese. What's my me eating and being like, I really should be doing this. I really should be doing this. And,
Yeah, but if it's your
Slimming World on Thursday.
If it's your fourth takeaway in a row, like then you know.
Then you need to be having a serious conversation with
yeah,
yourself.
But if it's once or twice in the week and you've been doing all that you can for the best you can, enjoy it. I see everybody saying, "Oh, if I go to the fridge one more time, you know, okay, why don't you limit it then?"
Yeah, but like, look, we're all going to the fridge at the moment. Okay, we all have a path of war into the floor in front of the fridge.
The next time I go to the fridge, is going to ask me, "What do you want this time?"
But like, I think it's just very important to kind of accept where we are. Right, we're all in this situation at the moment. We're all on lockdown. We're whatever, and just kind of like, right, okay, well, I'm going to be a lazy person today, and when you make that conscious decision to be a lazy person, you take the guilt out of it, and just enjoy. And just enjoy being a lazy person for today, and then tomorrow make yourself a little plan. And if I find with me, I at the moment, because I have been writing all my lists and putting so much pressure on myself to do X, Y, and Z, and then I'm doing nothing. What I'm doing at the moment now is I'm not making any lists for the last few days, and I find that that's taking the pressure off me, so I kind of nearly have the freedom to do stuff, whatever the stuff may be. So this morning I got more work. I had no list. I didn't do my list last night like I usually do, and this morning then I got up and I was doing my little thinking and whatever, and then I just naturally started getting into stuff and getting a few bits done. But I do probably, give me another few days of getting everything together and I'll start making lists again. But sometimes it's just about like sitting down and doing it and not putting pressure on yourself.
Give it a break.
Yeah, absolutely. So Katie, will we leave it at that, do you think?
I think so. Podcast number 2. Well done.
2, yeah, that's mad. Okay, right. You stay there. And I'm just going to stop recording this for a second, and we'll stop recording. Oh no, I can't do that, I don't think. Okay, I'm just going to leave this all recorded as one.
Okay.
So do you want to just say the introduction there, so like what we spoke about today, and then I'll do the end then of hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, okay. So welcome to episode 2. Myself and Grace are talking about lockdown, what we've been going through the last 2 weeks, acceptance, getting into our flow, getting up and going to bed in around the same time, and how this is going to change people's perspectives forever. So I hope you enjoy.
Thank you very much for listening to episode 2. Myself and Katie have been very pleasantly surprised by the reaction to episode 1, so we really hope you enjoy it. If you want to check out the show notes, I'll have links there for our social media and for any bits and pieces that we mentioned during the podcast, and I hope you guys all have a great week. Yay!
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it.